This is Tuesday, May 26th. There are 43 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2015. Welcome to the SDConcast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
V-A-N-U-H-T-E-E, go. Oh my God, I love my girl and I love her. Policy, if they can't help but live street. All of the first time making a million comments that they make. I love me is dead and I love me.
All right. I am your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast today is my partner in crime, Carrie Dixon, who wants everyone to know that insanity is post-Memorial Day SDCC news.
Hey, everybody.
And also joining us is Kim Twomley, the online orator of Offsites, otherwise known as Outside Comic-Con.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
And our special guest today is David Glanzer, the Director of Marketing and Public Relations for Comic-Con International. But I thought that might have been just a little too long, so we are changing it to the Sultan of SDCC Soundbites.
Hi, everybody. How's that for a soundbite?
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, so the SDConcast is brought to you by 3D Light Effects, the makers of the innovative cordless 3D Deco Lights. Find the perfect Marvel, Nickelodeon, Hasbro, or Disney light to decorate your or your child's room. And now you can pre-order the brand new Star Wars lights on Target.com, available in Darth Vader, Yoda, or Boba Fett. Visit 3dlightfx.com or our show notes to find out more. All right, so we're just going to get right into some questions for you, David. Carrie, why don't you start us off?
Sure. We were actually just talking a little bit before the show started, kind of about how you first got involved in Comic-Con, David. And why don't you tell us a little bit about how you first got involved?
Sure. I could go way back. I was a huge Star Trek and Star Wars fan. And a friend of mine from high school had introduced me to Comic-Con. She said, you should really check out this show. And I said, well, I don't really know a lot about comics. I mean, I read some comics as a kid, but she said, no, there's a whole bunch of stuff for everybody. You'll love it. So I went down and in 1978, and I fell in love with the dealer's room. There was so much stuff that I just didn't know people had to sell. And I'm very honest when I say I walked through the doors of Comic-Con and I was like, my tribe. I mean, these people so got me, and I got them, and I haven't missed a show since.
Well, obviously, you started out as a fan. I mean, now that you've been working there for years and years and years.
Right, years.
Yeah. Are there still things that you get quote unquote geeky about or excited about?
You know what, I do. The show, I appreciate and enjoy the show in a very different manner than I did back then. I was a big film fan, so I would spend a lot of times. We used to have 24-hour film rooms, pardon me, where they would show films throughout the night. And some great stuff, Young Frankenstein, Othello, Orson Welles' Othello. I mean, stuff that film fans would love. And before, when I first started going, we didn't have VHS and all that and DVDs. So the convention would show 16mm film of these movies, and it was really just amazing. And then programs, you got to see really cool people. But I think one of the things that I always enjoyed about Comic-Con was not only seeing these people, but seeing them interact with people who were really big fans. And yeah, I think sometimes we ask geeky questions, but sometimes, more often than not, we ask really questions I think that they were really interested in answering, and it kept them coming back. I don't know if there's. I have my favorites. There's still stuff that I can't believe that we can have. But I don't always get to see it. A prime example is, we just finished WonderCon, and a dear friend of mine who I've known since 1977 probably is an author now, and she was a guest at WonderCon, and I was so thrilled because I hadn't really seen her in about 5 or 7 years. I missed her panel. And I was so upset. You know, it wasn't until afterwards that I realized, you know, and her panel went well, according to everybody. But so sorry, not doing very good at the sound bites. But you know what? There are still things that excite me. Right now, probably what really throws me is seeing people having a good time. And I know that sounds corny and cheesy, but you know, if you look at those people that, you know, I was an outcast as a kid. I didn't fit in, and you know, I'll be honest with you. In most places, I still don't. But you know what? I can go to Comic-Con, and people don't care. You know, and I love that. I love that about the show.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite things about the show too. Well, you mentioned missing that panel, and since you have to work during the show pretty much nonstop, is there something that you've missed that you really regret? I mean, obviously missing a Friends panel is a pretty big regret, but has there been anything else like at Comic-Con that you just like, I can't believe I had to work during that?
There was a panel by Oingo Boingo, the frontman for Oingo Boingo, whose name, who is it? Danny Elfman? Yeah, Danny Elfman, who was coming to talk about, you know, scoring movies and his career and all that, and oh my gosh, I so wanted to see that and wasn't able to. And it's not, you know, the truth of the matter is, we all try to stagger our schedule so that if somebody really wants to see something, you know, we'll cover for other people. I mean, we're all very good about that. So it's a rare instance when you want to see something and you, well, it's not really that rare. But if you really want to see something, we really try to see if we can. And it just turned out to be a bad day for me that day. But and there are some others I'm sure that I've missed. But overall, you know, if people had a good time, if the panel went well, then I'm happy. And, you know, I'm always hoping that maybe they'll come back in the future so I'll have a chance to see them again.
Well, hopefully Danny Elfman will come back then.
Wouldn't that be awesome? I would love that. I really would.
Well, we know what you're hoping for then.
Yes.
Well, let's move on to something a little bit more recent. So one of the big pieces of news for you guys lately is that you're going to have a streaming partnership with Lionsgate. How did that come together, and can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what that deal is going to entail?
Yeah, it's still really in the very early stages, but a couple of years ago, Lionsgate, and we've had a relationship with Lionsgate for a long time. We've been lucky to have a relationship with several different you know, studios and networks. But they contacted us a couple of years ago with this idea of starting a streaming service that could not only have fare that would be of interest to fans, but their real big pitch was, you know, this is an opportunity to let those people possibly who can't make it to Comic-Con get a taste of it. So maybe certain panels we could stream. You know, if you guys have old archives of tapes or artwork or pictures, you know, we could put that on there. The door's wide open, but they really looked at it not just as a marketing thing, but really as an educational thing. And they really said all the right words, and they really had a good understanding because they've been to the show before, and they're, you know, a lot of their product is also fan favorites. So, you know, we're really slow to move on certain things, and it took a while of meeting and chatting, and eventually we came to this agreement that we were going to go ahead and try this service. We're hoping it launches by the end of the year, the early part of next, and we're hoping that it'll be a nice place where fans of all things, you know, comics and pop culture can have a home where they'll find the stuff that they enjoy, the stuff that we enjoy, along with some original content that'll be of an educational nature, but fun as well. And I think we try to do that with the programs that we have.
Yeah.
People who don't understand Comic-Con will say, you know, well, educational. I mean, how does that work? It's like, well, you know, if you do it in a fun way, people don't know they're learning. So I think we've been really good in having great programs that have not only informed the public, but have been fun too. And hopefully the video on demand service will mirror that.
Yeah, and I think you guys do a great job with that. We love all that kind of stuff, like the Comics Arts Conference, all that stuff. We love that stuff.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's funny because when people first come to the show, sometimes they come for the exhibit floor, or they may come because of a certain movie brought them in, or something of that nature. But they're exposed to so much that we see people really diverse their interests. There was a reporter from, I want to say the LA Times, who came by a few years ago, who was doing a story on Watchmen. And she really didn't have a comics background at all. And she came in and she was doing a story on the Watchmen, and she met this retailer who gave her the Watchmen and said, you might want to look at some of this other stuff too, and gave her some stuff. And she said, I'm interested to go read this when I get home. She interviewed me, and she did some stuff, and it was great. And the following year, she came by and asked for an interview again. I said, are you doing a follow-up or what? And she was so intrigued by what she read that she pitched a story on comics. And, we created a fan of somebody who was really not very knowledgeable about comics, but found a lot of stuff that she loved there. And those stories are great. I mean, there's a lot to learn and a lot to enjoy.
Yeah, completely agree.
So, my turn. Hi, David. As a follow-up to the last question, what impact, if any, do you see the streaming deal having on Comic-Con attendees? And is this a step towards offering live streaming?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question. I really don't know. One of the things that we always want to make sure that we're cognizant of is that we don't take away the unique experience of Comic-Con attendees. I mean, they've made us, who we are. They're willing to wait in line. They're willing to, go through the registration process. I mean, it's not always easy, but they're dedicated and committed enough that we want to make sure we don't do anything that usurps their being in the room when something breaks. So how this will play out, I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever do live streaming. I can't say that we won't. I don't know that every panel ever will be, but I think it gives us an opportunity to look at what we have. Maybe those panels presentations that are really difficult to get into, maybe they can be offered, later on. It's still kind of open. We're looking at all the options, but we really want to make sure that we don't take the uniqueness away from what is, Comic-Con. And hello to your kitty back there, by the way.
That cat makes an appearance at least once a show, I think.
The cat's no dummy. It's all, I see a camera over there.
That's right.
Well, okay, so about the unique experience, obviously something that's fairly unique to most conventions is the Hall H experience. And this last year you implemented the wristband system, and what's the general feeling on how it went last year?
I think the jury was probably really still out on that. We found out about half of the people really liked it, half of the people really didn't. It did seem to help, anecdotally we believe it seemed to help with people cutting in line. One of the things that apparently had been an issue in the past was people getting in line and then saving space for their friends. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, if you were, X number in line, you could be pushed back considerably. And the wristband thing really did apparently cut down on that. So that was a good thing. I think there were problems with people, getting in line really early and then earlier still. So as with all things, we look at that. We're still, believe it or not, kind of mulling that over. I don't know whether we're going to do it again, to be honest with you. But if we don't do it this year, it doesn't mean that it won't not come back. It's a possibility that it could. It just means we didn't have enough time to try to work out as many of the bugs as we possibly could. Did you guys have an opinion on?
Well, I did Hall H, the last 5 years, and it definitely cut down on the number of people who cut in front. Because 2 years ago, I was about 65th in line on Friday afternoon, and I ended up about somewhere around 400 or 500 people back when we actually got let in. And this year, I think when I counted on Friday afternoon, I was around 120th back, and by the time they handed out wristbands, I was about 150th.
Oh, okay.
So it definitely cut down on that. because everyone was there waiting for the wristbands instead of out wandering around with one friend holding their spot.
Right.
But on the flip side, what the problem it did cause was everyone feeling like they needed to be there so much earlier because there was a time limit on when the wristbands were being handed out.
Right.
So it was good and bad.
It's interesting, and you guys know this from being at the show, but a lot of, I think, lay people don't realize that a lot of people who are in line also want to make sure that, A, they can get into Hall H, but a lot of them are trying to get in Hall H in the front of the line, front of the room. It was amazing. We had some really big programs. People were still on Thursday morning able to walk in. Now, granted, they were at the back of the room, but it's funny because you'll see some of the local media and even international media talk about, in order to get to Comic-Con, you have to be in line for 4 days. And it's like, But anyway, so the wristbands was an attempt to try to make it a little more equitable for everybody. And I think, as you said, it worked on one level. I think there were some issues on another level, and we're still kind of, trying to figure out just exactly how to make sure that works the best that it possibly can. So I don't know that it'll happen this year.
Interesting.
Well, do you want me to take this next one, Kim?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Kind of along that same line, I know you guys didn't do wristbands for Ballroom 20 last year, but I know we got handed a card in the Ballroom 20 line that would basically say, like, you are Section A or Section B or whatever the case might be. Was that kind of along the same line of thinking as the wristbands? Okay.
It really was, because one of the ideas with the wristbands was really trying to see trying to give people an indicator of whether or not they'd be able to get into line into a certain panel. So especially with the cards, you knew if you were at this point what your chances are of getting to a certain panel. And I think that really seemed to help out a lot. I think people enjoyed that.
And
it seemed to work.
We actually really liked that over in Ballroom 20. Do you think that will be back this year, or is that kind of dependent as well on what you guys decide with the wristbands?
I think it may be having to do with the wristbands as well. I know that there was less conflict with those, so I can't say whether officially we're going to do that or not, but I can tell you they were less problematic than or I wouldn't say problematic. They were less of a there was less negative to those than the wristbands, I think.
Right. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about badge sales. Badge sales this year went really well. Honestly, I mean, I know the member ID site crashed, but everything just seemed a lot more streamlined, seamless. Everything seemed to go faster than the last couple years. What do you think accounts for that?
I think basically applying what we learned the years before. I mean, one of the things that we do here is spend a very, very long time on registration. Because we have an outside registration company, it's not always as easy as if we did it ourselves. So there's a lot of stuff that we go through, we rehash, we look at things from as many angles as we possibly can. We do beta tests and beta runs. Pardon me. But I think this really was a result of seeing how things went last year, trying to apply as many of those as we possibly could. And there were still hiccups. I mean, there always are. And it's something that we try to let people know. Ultimately, there are more people who want to attend the show than we can accommodate. So not everybody, sadly, will be happy, but we try to make it as least stressful as we possibly can. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't. Hopefully this year was a little bit better.
Well, like I said, it seemed from our end, at least, that everything went a lot smoother than it has even in other years. So,
yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, so switching gears again, let's go over to the sister show, WonderCon, and it's moving to Los Angeles in 2016. And how do you think that'll affect the convention itself? And are there any challenges to moving to a new location like this?
There really, really is. We had some people say that they thought, pardon me, they thought that this was an attempt to check out LA, see how it works in case San Diego has to move or something. And honestly, you never want to do that. And the reason being is, I mean, if you had endless resources, you could. But the truth of the matter is, you're literally moving to a different market. When we moved from San Francisco to Anaheim, we had the same thing. And even moving 30, 40 miles north, it's an entirely different market. You have possibly a different volunteer base, on a different attendee base. The advertising is going to be different than you did in this area. Hotels, transportation, all of those things is going to be a real chore. And we're going to have to make sure that all of our attendees, potential new attendees, know that we're not in Anaheim anymore. We're actually in Los Angeles. So it's a great expense, to be honest with you. On top of that, pardon me, people may not come. People may not want to for any number of reasons, or the truth of the matter is when you move to a new market, you kind of take a dip in attendance. It's just natural. So I don't know if that will be the case for us. I hope it's not, but I fully expect it to be. The city really is trying to make sure that we have as good of a program as possible, so they're working very closely with us. But I don't want to say I'm worried about it, but it'll be a new experience for all of us. It's going to be a challenge. What do you all think about the move?
My short one-sentence answer is I hope it's only a one-year move. I really, really enjoy seeing the convention in Anaheim. It's not only because it's close, but because just the layout and the atmosphere is really nice.
Yeah, I think Anaheim has done a great job. When we first started there, they didn't have that front plaza. They had just the amphitheater with the water fountain, but the roadway went all the way in there. And when they paved that over, it created a wonderful outside venue for people to gather. And we have the food trucks there, and the two hotels right across. I mean, it's really a great location for a convention, and it certainly served us very, very well.
Yes.
Well,
I think so.
I think we're all quite honestly hoping it goes back to Anaheim after next year.
Yeah, I think right now the LA thing is 1 year. If we can get dates and space, one of the things about a convention also is it's not always just dates. I mean, you want to make sure that you're not on somebody else's convention dates if you can help it. There are so many conventions now on the calendar that that's not always possible anymore. But one of the problems too is move in and move out. Sometimes the facility can offer you these dates, but you can't have this hall or this meeting space. And for us, programming is such an integral part of who we are that if we can't have the space that we need, in essence, we're going to have to cut programming. If you cut programming, you're probably going to have to cut attendance. If you cut attendance, all of a sudden you have people upset because now they can't attend the show that they used to be able to. So, we try to find as perfect a balance as we possibly can. And for next year, LA afforded us that space. But if Anaheim can come back, then I think we'll probably return to Anaheim.
Well, I think we should probably ask this question since we get asked it all the time. Do you guys think there's any possibility of, at any point, you guys moving back up to San Francisco?
Well,
another convention there?
So the big issue with San Francisco really has been not only dates, but the offering time of dates. So typically, like with San Diego, we typically do a 3-year contract. And right now we only have a contract until 2016, but we try to do a contract as far as we can, and we'll even pencil in dates sometimes just to give everybody an idea of where we are and what we're dealing with. Unfortunately, with San Francisco, it had been that they really couldn't give us dates until 6 months out, and in some cases even as little as 3 months out. It's really impossible to plan a show, not only to let attendees know that you're going to be somewhere, but especially exhibitors. I mean, you really have to have a good exhibitor base, a nice diverse floor to attract attendees, and it's not fair to ask an attendee to hold off on their calendar until 6 months out and then give them a date that they may not even be able to make. So for that reason, we really haven't been able to be back. We're always talking, we're always hoping that things will change, and I have my fingers crossed that we may be up in the Bay Area again. Hi to the doggy.
Yeah.
I'm battling cats, she's battling dogs.
That's right.
I love animals.
Mine's right over here.
I'm battling the shine off the top of the head.
Yeah, it's okay. You know what? Yeah. Wow. I looked at myself on this and thought, oh dear.
Well, coming back down to San Diego, you've talked a lot about the Comic-Con campus feel that downtown San Diego gets during the convention, and how do you think that, and I'm a big fan of that myself, how do you think that affects attendees' experience with the convention itself?
I think it can help. One of the things that we discovered back in 2005 or 2006 was we really just ran out of space. And if we were going to try to keep the show viable and interesting and people attending, we were going to have to think a little bit about outside the box. The mayor at the time and the city council and the convention center and local hoteliers did a really great job of letting us use some of their ballroom space and some of the park space, so that people who were exhibiting at the show who wanted to expand their booth space and could conceivably go across the street or go to another hotel and do some stuff there. We have Xbox now has a big gaming lounge over at the Hyatt Hotel. I think last year we had her Universe Fashion Show over there as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nighttime program. The Eisner Awards are over at the Bayfront. We have some programming over there as well. That's really, really helped us a great deal. NBC, who would love to have a space on the floor, just doesn't have the ability to because we don't have it. They're across the street. So those companies that work with us are really great because they afford not only the attendees additional things to do, but it alleviates some of the crowding inside the building. Before we had those outside activations, I think our attendance is about 120 or 125,000. So we've been able to increase the attendance a little bit. Now we have more than 130,000, but it's those spaces that allows us to do that. And hopefully, it's an added value for our attendees.
For sure, yeah. Well, so a couple years ago, you moved into Hilton Bayfront for panels. Do you think that Comic-Con might expand into any more off-site locations for panel space?
We might have to. The truth of the matter is we're in negotiations with some hotels right now, and the sticking point of us signing a contract for beyond 2016 really is a lot of that. One of the problems we're dealing with is room blocks and room rates. So we ask our partner hotels to give us a big room block at a discounted rate, even though it's probably a higher rate than what it would be any other time of the week. But we want to make sure that we can do as best we can for our attendees. But some of the hotels are kind of I think bristling at that a bit, and they want to reduce their room blocks and not only increase their regular rack rates, but increase the rates that we've negotiated, and that's going to be difficult. And if anything, I think causes us to leave San Diego, it ultimately will probably be that at this point. It's something we don't want to do, and I don't think anybody wants us to do. But if we start, charging our attendees more and more for these rates, and we start getting less and less rooms, I don't know what choice we have.
Right, and you guys have been really firm in saying that that's basically the reason for the delay in signing the contract, and we appreciate you guys being upfront about that.
Well, thank you. I have to tell you, there was a really challenging interview with somebody from not with the city, but who had said, in essence, that they thought that, I think the quote was, you don't get a successful show, and they wouldn't leave over, a few dollars here or there. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. A few dollars here or there may not be much to them, but to our attendees, I remember when I started going to my first conventions, and this was a very long time ago, but I remember my very first convention, I had $42 for the weekend. And $42, clearly back in the Stone Age, went a lot farther than it does now, but, we had to cram a few people into a hotel room, but I remember that, and I look at the people that attend Comic-Con, and yes, there are people who, are adults and can probably afford some of this stuff, but there are a lot of kids and young people who this is their vacation, And it just, I think if we end up, charging more than they can afford, then they're not going to come. And if they don't come, guess what? We don't have a show. And luckily, many of the hotels really understand that and are right with us shoulder to shoulder. But there are a handful who aren't. And my fear, to be honest with you guys, is if this year 2 or 4 hotels decide not to join the block, then next year somebody's going to say, well, hold on a second. Why am I being punished by working with you when these guys didn't have to? And then all of a sudden it all unravels. So thank you for saying that. I mean, I think it's a dilemma that we're in right now that we're hoping to be able to mitigate. The mayor's really been on our side trying to help us out, but we won't know what will happen until it actually happens.
Well, we've got everything crossed. But on the same line with hotels, what Kim was saying, I think, is you guys use some of the panel spacing over at the Bayfront, and you've also moved into some other off-site spacing like the Lyceum Theater, that kind of thing. Is there any plans to sort of expand panel placement?
Yes, in fact, we did something really cool last year. We did this authors reading over at, I think it was a couple of different programs over at the Horton Grand Theater, and one of them were these intimate author readings, and it went over very, very well. So I think you're going to see some stuff over there again, and then they finally. There's been talk in San Diego for many, many years about a brand new library, and that has finally opened and been inaugurated, and we're going to have some programs over there too. So we are starting to move out a little bit more, trying to find some additional space, and hopefully that'll be something that will be really cool to do. And I think some of these are going to be, programs not only during the day but probably in the early evening as well.
Nice. We're excited to see what you got going.
Thank you. And there's going to be a really cool exhibit over at the library on the history, basically, of Comic-Con. There's a lot of stuff that we poured through our archives and try to find some stuff that might be of interest to people. So I think it'll be kind of fun.
Yeah, I'll be there. Looking forward to that.
Oh, great.
Cool. That's a lot of good news. Well, except for the bad hotels.
Yeah, you know what? I got to tell you, I'm glad that you guys know that we're working on this. A local anchor said a couple months ago that because we're having problems with the city right now with the Chargers, and he kind of lumped us with the Chargers, saying, is it just a money thing? And it's like, well, in a way it is, but it's not for us. It's like we want to make sure that we're a viable show for the people who made us what we are.
Right.
And I think so long as everybody realizes that, I think we'll be in good company. I have my fingers crossed also.
Yeah.
We do too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, for those attendees who are there and going to the convention and offsites, in some cases because it's a buy by the day, and Saturday obviously sells out sooner. What happens on the events that are offsites that require a Comic-Con badge, but they don't have a badge for that day? So, like, if they're attending on Thursday, Friday, but not Saturday, can they still get into that offsite on Saturday with one of their other badges?
I think the idea was that I think the idea was you would get into an event if you had a badge for that day. In practical terms, I don't know if that was really strictly adhered to. But let me tell you the reason for that originally. There is such a limited amount of parking downtown. There's so much foot traffic downtown that it's really a safety issue. And that there's reduced traffic in certain areas, a lot of police. There's a lot of attention focused on that. The idea was we're really afraid, and those companies that were doing these activations were really afraid of people coming down who didn't have a badge, who would then take part in these cool activities, while people who did have a badge weren't able to. So I think the theory is, it's supposed to be available for those people who have a badge for that day, so it doesn't encourage people to come down when they wouldn't normally be down. But in reality, I don't know if it's really. It's up to each activation, and I don't know that anybody was really turned away.
As long as they have a badge.
as long as they have a badge or a receipt or something like that.
Okay. And that's usually what we tell people is just it's kind of up to the activation itself.
It really is. Yeah, and the practical reason for it really is, it would be awful if you only had one day, you could only get a badge for a Thursday, and then, somebody who has a Saturday and Sunday badge is able to get in because they have a receipt, and they don't actually have a badge for Thursday, but,
Right.
it's up to the activation company.
And that makes sense. All right, well, did you guys have anything else you wanted to cover?
I don't think so. Did we?
I don't think so.
Check through. Well, I just wanted to comment that some of our questions, basically, they were just comments that they liked the wristbands.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. Okay.
So it looks like the 2 or 3 comments we did get on the wristbands, they were all in favor of them.
I do know that I think there was some talk about LA traffic, and I have to tell you that is something that as someone who spends a lot of time in LA, LA traffic can be incredibly daunting. They have a metro system now, which comes down to the convention center, and my understanding is that I've been told that it goes out to the airport right now, which has a lot of hotel rooms. I didn't think that leg was open, but they said it was. So I'm actually hoping one of these weekends to go up to LA and just kind of, be a hobo and ride the rails on the metro and see just exactly where it goes. But I will tell you, one of the things that really surprises me is I can be in the valley, I can be in different parts of the city, and I'll see these big metro signs. So it does seem to be all over the place. I don't know how much they're used, but it'll be interesting to see if people use that. I know in San Diego we have our trolley system, which for the most part is used by commuters who go to work or whatever. But during Comic-Con, a lot of people who would normally drive use the trolley system. So it's possible that in LA we can encourage people to use the metro system too, if it can bring people in and alleviate some of the traffic.
Yeah, I know I've used it in the past, parking up in the valley somewhere to get to Universal Studios.
Yeah,
So
because I think they have some metro stops, which is also really cool, at some key locations that are tourist places as well.
Yes.
So it might be
Hollywood,
a fun thing.
Universal.
Yeah. So it might be a fun thing for people to be able to, branch out. And I don't know how late they run or how early they run, but I want to spend one of these weekends and look into that.
Well, if you see David Glanzer riding around on the metro,
say hi.
That's right. Say hi. All right. Well, David, unless there was anything else you wanted to tell our readers,
I think we're good. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with you guys, and
thank you for coming on. We greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, David.
Okay, see you guys later. Say bye to the kitties and the puppies.
Will do.
I'll talk to you
Bye,
later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, I think that went pretty well.
Yes, and that went very well, and I'm glad that we did get to get a little bit of news about the hotels and kind of confirm what we all really knew was the sticking point for the negotiations. Yeah. So that's really the only bummer, but it's the way it goes. There's money involved, and when there's money involved, there's always going to be problems.
Yeah. And I mean, it's always nice to know that like they really have the attendees' needs first.
And,
I mean, we all know that, but it's always nice to hear that reiterated.
Right, and even if a decision they made is not perfect for a specific attendee, they're trying to make the best decision for most of the attendees, if not all of them. So that's always where they're starting from, and then they move from there to see what they can do.
Right.
And it's always a process, like with the Holly's wristbands. Tried something, it seems to be working pretty well, maybe they'll change it for this year or do something a little different. But it's always a moving process with something that big.
Yeah. And like you said, they're a little slow to move, so just give it a little bit of time, guys. I know that we're all Comic-Con attendees, and we don't like to wait for anything.
Go.
Yep.
We don't like to wait?
No.
What?
No. We do not.
You mean that line thing wasn't called waiting?
Okay, lines are different, but information we want now. So,
Yes.
but yeah, everybody just kind of slow it down. It'll be okay. But you guys ready to talk about the wonderful world of Comic-Con news?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because
All
I mean,
right.
as we mentioned, it's really hitting. It's coming every day. There's just lots of news. So.
Yeah, I was about ready to pull my hair out on Friday.
And that was before the weekend when it was like, okay, well, maybe that will not. Maybe most of it's going to be after the weekend. But
Yeah, I know. Your little intro for me, like, Insanity is post-Memorial Day. No, Insanity was Friday.
no.
All right. Well, let's talk about the main reason Carrie just about lost her mind. We had so many exclusives. Oh my god. And the funny thing is, a lot of these are pretty much the same thing. But because they announced at different times, I wound up basically writing the same thing 2 or 3 times.
Fun.
Good times. But let's talk about previews. Previews, which is basically part of Diamond Comics Distributors. It's just part of
It's
them.
their magazine saying what's
Yeah.
coming up in 2 months.
Yes, they always bring a ton of exclusives, and this year is absolutely no different. They're bringing everything from comics to vinyl toys to you name it. So some of the really cool things that they're bringing this year are they will have the DC Collectibles exclusives that Kim's going to tell you a little bit about here in a minute. They've got some Ghostbusters things. They've got like a Kevin Smith Venomate vinyl figure that looks pretty cool. They've got some of the Marvel Mini-Mates, like there's Ant-Man, and then also along with Diamond Select Toys is bringing a set of Avengers Age of Ultron Mini-Mates that look pretty cool. I actually almost bought those myself. And then they also announced that they are going to have a flocked Guardians of the Galaxy Rocket Raccoon in his Ravager outfit, which I'm not going to lie, I bought it, but I'm not overly excited because they basically did this last year. Last year they had the normal Flocked Rocket as a Comic-Con exclusive, and this year it's the Flocked Rocket in slightly different colored clothes. I mean, again, I bought it, but I'm just not super excited.
What they do.
It is what they do. Most of these you can buy right now over on shopafx.com. The one and only, the comics you can't pre-order. And actually on ShopAFX you've got 2 options. You can either pre-order and pick it up at the convention at ShopAFX's booth, or you can even pre-order and have it shipped if you don't mind paying shipping. All of those, as far as I'm aware, are still available on ShopAFX's site, except the Rocket Raccoon Funko one that I just mentioned. That one, though, is available over on Entertainment Earth's site, so you can still grab it even if you missed out on it on ShopAFX. Woo! Yeah. We also had a couple of NECA exclusives. We had, late last week, Topless Robot unveiled the NECA's exclusive that they had shown off over at Toy Fair, which is basically this little set of Pacific Rim Jaegers and Kaijus, and they're different colors. They're really cute, actually. They're tiny and adorable. No word yet on pricing, but those will be available over at NECA's booth. And then today, they also unveiled a Rambo figure based on the 1980s Force of Freedom line. It's 7 inches tall. It's got over 25 points of articulation. If you're into retro figures, which is basically what NECA is known for, it's pretty cool. So that's what I've got.
All right. So,
Okay.
Kim, what do you got?
Your mic is
I'm muted. Yeah, I'm trying to be nice. So I'll continue with the exclusives. Mattel announced some Monster High, a 2-pack last Thursday, announced via their Twitter, Valentine and Wisp. And so it's a 2-pack like last year, but no word yet on pricing that I see.
No, there's not.
And then I think just today or yesterday, looks like, they announced their very first vinyl exclusive for Monster High, which is kind of Egyptian-themed Nefertiti, like Nefertiti type vinyl.
Yeah, and those Monster High exclusives always go really quick, so I would expect these to be pretty popular.
Yeah, and then so they changed their voucher system release dates. Eternia, their club member subscribers, can get early access on Monday, June 1st at 8 a.m., and then all access to everyone else Tuesday, the 2nd at 9 a.m., going till the 11th, and then pick up at Comic-Con.
So the reason, I think there's a couple of reasons why they might have pushed it back. One is they also announced that they will actually have 2 exclusives that they won't even be unveiling before the pre-sale. You've got the post open, Kim, but I think it's June 8th, 9th, 10th, one of those where they've got 2 more coming out.
Well, 27th, or no, that's their after party. Hang on, that was confusing. No, I don't see it right off the bat. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But they have 2 more exclusives that they're unveiling after the pre-sale starts for everything else. And so I think it might be a case of... Did you find it?
June 9th.
June
Yes.
9th. All right. I knew it was one of those. I think it might be a case of they just don't necessarily have the toy ready. Like, they may not have what they need to show off for it to be on sale. So I think that could be a case, because it seems like this year everybody is just way slower than normal to unveil everything. Wouldn't you guys agree?
It seems like that.
I think it's the case of Comic-Con so early again.
I know.
That we were talking about earlier.
I know. I'm pleased to hear that they don't. I'm pleased to hear that they don't like that either. Let's move it back. Move it back. But I think that that's probably a big thing for why they might have pushed it back. The cool thing is, though, it sounds to me like that basically means they're going to have 2 pre-sales, because it sounds like when the second set of figures goes on sale, which again is just 2 exclusives, but it sounds like they're basically going to go straight up into pre-sale. So it's kind of cool. We might get some neat things later on in June. So yeah.
Cool. And then I'll deviate over to an off-site real quick, which Star Wars Action News announced their annual Star Wars breakfast this morning, but don't get excited if you didn't buy tickets, because it already sold out.
And the wait list filled up.
And the wait list is already filled up. But, you know, it was neat. They posted a video of, I guess, last year, their breakfast, and just it was neat to see, because I've never been able to go, because I'm also don't get up that early. But, you know, so it was neat to see, you know, what goes on, even though, you know, I haven't been able to attend, like I said. But so it'll be their 5th one, and it's taking place Friday, July 10th. So hopefully, if you were interested, you saw the tweets this morning and were able to get tickets to that.
And one of our readers just notified us that that Rocket Funko Pop that I was just talking about is actually already sold out on Entertainment Earth as well. So I know Shop AFX said they're hoping to get some more in. If not, you can always try to grab them at the convention.
Fun. That's always fun.
Yeah. All right.
I may steal yours, Carrie, though, because I didn't buy it.
I never buy exclusives, but the last 2 years I bought the other Flocked Rocket, and apparently I bought this one. So
No.
there we go.
Jeez.
All right, James.
So, next up, we have something that I am going to be tempted to buy, which is Hasbro announced their next exclusive. The official Facebook page showed off a picture of the exclusive 18-inch Devastator in G1 deco, which is awesome because it's all original colors. It's a very cool-looking little toy. Not little, 18 inches. That's not little at all. No pricing yet. There's pictures on the site. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what pricing is and how it's going to be available. But this is a very cool-looking set, which it's basically the original Constructicons, but you know, updated and awesome and a Comic-Con exclusive. Looks like it's going to have a really cool box that it comes in that looks like the shovel of one of the Constructicons. So that's really cool.
I've seen most people speculating that it'll probably be around $180, because I think the retail version is somewhere between like 120 and 150. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds about right, because that's about what the price was on the Transformers last year. That were multiple figures in one box set kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the second exclusive was actually announced last week, I think. Yeah, last week. USA Today had the exclusive of the DC Collectibles Batman figure. It's called the Blue Line Edition of The Dark Knight, and it's done by Jim Lee. It's really cool, and it's you can get the
really
figure,
cool.
which
It
is
is.
currently available on shopafx.com. How many are there? It's $40, and
Well, there's two versions.
right. So that one's there's going to be 150 of. It looks like. No, that's
the special edition.
150 is the special edition, which is Jim Lee is actually doing a sketch. And there will be 50 each of Batman, Harley Quinn, and the Joker, and you will be able to get the figure and the sketch for $300, and there will be 150 total of those available.
And that's a huge deal. Huge.
Because, I mean, Jim Lee, I mean, not only is he a really cool artist, he's been around forever, but he's like one of the bigwigs over at DC Comics now. I mean, he's still producing content, even though he's also working in the editorial offices. So that's really cool. But the figure looks really cool. It's a black and white figure. It's got the artist lines on it, so it's celebrating the artistic process. And I really like the look of the figure. It's just something really unique to have.
Well, if you want that one is also available for pre-order over on shopafx.com, just the standard edition.
Right.
I know the standard edition already sold out on Entertainment Earth, and there's no word yet on how to pick up the special limited edition one, the one that there's only 150 of, but I know ShopAFX said they're hoping to get a very limited number of those available for pre-sale, so keep an eye out for that, and if not, you can also pick it up at their booth, and I imagine it'll probably also be at a couple of other booths, because that's usually how DC Collectibles does their exclusives.
Right. Basically, you can assume that anything produced by or coming through the Diamond Select Toys or Previews banner is going to be available at more than one spot unless it specifically says it's a certain vendor's exclusive.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly it. All right. Well, that pretty much does it for the really big news, but as we keep getting closer, there's a whole lot of other things going on. So let's talk a little bit about our party, which we are also 43 days away from. If you are attending and you had a shirt, your shirt has been officially ordered. We are hoping to get those of you who ordered just the standalone shirt without a ticket package, we're hoping to get those mailed out to you by mid-June in plenty of time for you to come and wear it to Comic-Con. So we will update you when we start getting those sent out, but it's pretty exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I was excited ordering those today.
I'm excited to have them in my garage.
As
It
you
will
should
be,
be.
it will be all my fault if they don't get out.
That's
in time.
right.
But
Blame her.
they will get out in time.
That's right. Kim's awesome. We are also pleased to announce that the lovely folks over at The Walking Dead Escape have given us 2 passes to The Walking Dead Escape. And the cool thing is you get to actually choose whether or not you want to be one of the zombie walkers, or if you want to be a survivor. So you can basically choose whichever one you want. You can do it Friday or Saturday. You pretty much get your pick. But we are giving those away right now, so you can check out our site or the show notes for more information about how to enter. What else is going on, James?
Oh, let's let Kim let us know what's happening
Oh, that's
on
right.
Offsite Nerdist.
Because it was Sir Ben Kingsley that was
Sir.
announced as the Nerdist Podcast Live's first guest for their event that I think is Friday. Oh, I didn't have it up.
Yeah.
Either Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's doing his comedy, thing, his tour first night, and then the second night that he's doing a show, it's going to be the Nerdist Live. And what's
did
fun about... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, you guys were speculating, and I don't remember why Ben Kingsley is in town. What would he be there promoting?
Well,
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's part of the fun is once you see a guest announced for something like this, part of the fun is like, okay, what's he going to be there for at Comic-Con?
Yeah. My money, and I said this the first night, my money is on King Tut, which is this Spike TV mini-series about King Tut, but apparently this is like the first scripted show that Spike has had in 8 years. Spike has been at Comic-Con the last couple years with their news team, so I can see them kind of wanting to find something to fit in with the Comic-Con crowd, kind of like MTV, honestly. Like, they don't necessarily make 100% sense, but they want to be part of that crowd. So I could very easily see Spike being like, let's just bring this.
Yeah. Just, try and make a splash with it. It's the first time doing scripted in a long time, so let's make it big.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
And speaking of making a big splash, Bruce Campbell on Twitter said he was coming back to Comic-Con and with a surprise. And we don't know what that is, but obviously
he tagged Ash versus Evil Dead in the tweet.
Well, okay.
Well.
So, and I would have to say, I've seen Bruce twice now, once at Comic-Con and once at Phoenix Comic-Con, and if you have a chance to see him at least once, because he is entertaining and he is a show when he's on stage. And it's great.
He is.
He's been doing it for so long that he's got it down. So he did the Q&A when even if it's a questionable question, he turns it around and makes it something fun and interesting, and definitely go see him if you get a chance.
Yeah. And if you flirt with him, he might give you $1.
Whoa.
Have you done? He does that at like all of his panels that I've been to. Seriously.
I think the one that I was at Phoenix, I think he basically taunted a 8-year-old for not having a job and not being able to afford anything, and then gave him $1 instead.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right. So you can flirt with him, or you can be 8 years old and jobless. Those are your options. Good luck. But real quick, I just wanted to say, Ash vs. Evil Dead is Stars, so I think there's 2 possibilities or a combination of them. Either 1, we're going to get a panel, which I think is probably going to happen anyway, or 2, the last 2 years, Stars has actually brought out whatever their new show is for a screening.
Which are fantastic.
Yes. I haven't been, but you have, right?
I've been to Outlander. I missed Black Sails, and I regret it. But Outlander was wonderful.
Well, I think there's a very real possibility that could happen again this year. So.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Yep. Mezco also announced that they are bringing another exclusive, which is basically their Batman versus Mutant Leader exclusive. It's a 2-pack. It looks really cool. It looks really intricate. I'm pretty sure the price is $150. People seem excited. I'm not an exclusives person, but it looks cool.
Says the person buying the exclusive rocket 2 years in a row.
That's right. my exclusive purchase.
Can't say that anymore.
I know. Now I've bought 2 exclusives. What? All right, Kim, you want to talk a little bit about another offsite that people are pretty pumped for?
Yeah, we've talked about it already for Conan's show coming. The Spreckles Theater filming Wednesday through Saturday of Comic-Con, changing his weekly schedule a bit to coincide with the convention. Eagerly anticipating ticket information. They will be not on sale. I think they'll be free. I'm not sure actually, but all their show tapings are usually free on their Team Coco website, so they'll be on there. So just keep an eye out on the blog's Twitter and all of our Twitters. It will be online as soon as we know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, it will.
I'm pretty sure those are going to be probably one of the hottest off-site tickets going this year.
Oh, I think so,
it seems like
too.
Everybody wants to go.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit. This is a weird one, but one of our readers, Granite Grizz, mentioned to me the other day that let's make a deal gave away a Comic-Con trip. And so I sat down and I watched this episode of Let's Make a Deal. And
the things you do for this website.
I know, that's what I was thinking as I started. I was like, really, this is how I'm going to spend my night? But this is what I did. So they gave away a trip to Comic-Con, and that was cool. But then host Wayne Brady also said that he would be at Comic-Con as well this year, which makes me think that Let's Make a Deal may actually be doing something bigger at Comic-Con. I have no idea what in the world that would be, but like, how cool would it be if there's like some kind of Let's Make a Deal offsite or even something on the show floor? Like, that's really weird to me.
Having a fire alarm?
Yeah, they probably
Who's on fire?
The wife is cooking! Watch out! If they come bursting in here and opening the door, then I know there's an issue, but otherwise, I'm not going to worry about it. See, it's already gone.
We're glad he didn't die.
So would Wayne Brady, would he, I know we're so glad, James. Would, is okay, never mind. I give up.
I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting, and it's one of those things that kind of makes my ears perk up and be like, I feel like that is something. I just don't know what yet. But
would he
so
be
random.
could he be doing a voice?
It's super random. I don't think so.
Recording.
Go to IMDb.
I mean,
whose line is it anyway?
I don't know. Basically, the way that they said it, though, was he was like, to the guy, he was like, you're going to Comic-Con, and I'm going too. Like, it was just really weird. And it made me think that, like, the show is doing something there. So.
Huh. Well, M. Nelson on the Q&A says that that's the second time they've given them away. So, and they weren't there previously. So, who knows? But if Wayne Brady's going, maybe he's just going to do some stuff. Maybe he's a fan. Maybe he just bought a ticket.
Maybe he is.
I like to think that.
All right. Well, speaking of going to Comic-Con, Carrie and I'm guessing Sarah worked on a post.
No, I did it.
You did it all?
I did it all. I did the terrible graphics.
Whoa! I guess I just insulted Sarah then, didn't I?
You did.
So Carrie, all by her lonesome, created the post that a lot of first-timers should take a look at, and people who are doing something they don't normally do, and that's a map of where to line up in the morning or the day before for what you want to do. So if you want to go to Hall H, Ballroom 20, show floor, exclusives, autograph signings, all these things, it's a great map showing you where you're going to go and where to line up. So check that out if you need to know that information. It's awesome.
I mean, truly, this is like the guide that I wish I had had my first year, or even last year when I did, like, I'd never lined up for the show floor before, but I did it last year. Like, I made Sean come and show me exactly where I was going. I would have loved for there to be a map, like, please walk here.
Right.
So, yeah, it's so good. Thank you for doing that.
No problem. Yes. I've been meaning to for a while.
Speaking of Sean, most likely he's got a video walking that route. So
yes, and actually I talked to him about it yesterday, and he said he does have a video that pretty much backs up everything that I just wrote up, and we should be getting that here in the next week or two. So if you've never watched Sean's videos, they're awesome.
Yeah, if you need to know something and you are a visual person, go watch his videos because he will walk you through virtually anything you need to do at a convention.
Yeah.
In video form.
Parks and Cons on YouTube.
Parks and Cons on YouTube, parksandcons.com, Parks and Cons on Twitter.
Yep.
All right, so I think that's about it for this week.
We got one more thing.
Oh, wait!
Yeah. After a couple weeks off, we have something to give away.
Uh-oh.
What? All right, so the lighting is terrible, but this is a wash from Firefly Funko. So if you would like this, what I want you to do is tweet at Comic-Con International, which is at comic_con, and say thank you for coming on the hashtag SDConcast. You have to include the SDConcast or I'll see it. So the first person who does that gets a lovely wash Funko. So while we are waiting for that to happen, because there's
Am
always
I-
a delay.
Am I
Our
eligible?
lady.
No.
Let's go for what's coming up.
You
in the
are
coming
not.
week.
You are not eligible.
Yeah, because you can
Yeah.
see it now.
Yeah.
So over the next couple weeks, we're going to have more guests, which is awesome. Coming up next week, Jermaine Lucier of Slash Film, which
That's
is going to be
right.
awesome. We're going to talk about the movies that we can expect to see at Comic-Con this year. And then in 2 weeks, Eric Goldman of IGN is coming on to discuss all of the TV shows that we may be seeing at Comic-Con this year. That is going to be 2 weeks full of super cool news and chats about TV and movies. Can't wait.
Can't either.
It's going to be awesome.
It'll be good. It is.
Because you know, Jermaine and Eric will just be dropping like this little in conversation tidbit of something, like they did last year.
They're very good at that.
And then everyone's like, after the show, did they say that? Okay, so a lot of this news, well, now that it's coming so often and so much, we can't just cover it all on the podcast every week. So if you need to, you can check out the website. All of the news bits are found in our Under the Tents column. We're putting those out daily almost now, I think. We talked
pretty
about
much.
it, and now it's happening. There is a lot of news now. And then the other way you can find stuff, Carrie.
You continue because I'm looking at Twitter.
I gotta talk more?
I dropped the ball.
All right, so the other way is to subscribe to our mailing list, which goes out every Tuesday. That is a summary of all of the major news. Anything that you may need to know is right there with quick and handy links and photos to get you excited about what's coming for Comic-Con. Showing up in your mailbox every Tuesday. Go to the show notes or the website and sign up.
All right, so we officially have a winner, and the winner is FatJ00, and I just tweeted you to say that you won, so I will be sending you a direct message after the show to get your mailing information, and we will get this lovely Funko Pop mailed out to you.
Nice.
Congratulations.
That's
I'm
right.
gonna win those one of these days.
You gotta
Thanks
stop
for
being on the
watching.
podcast to win. Yes, thank you very much for watching, all of you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Be sure to check out the show notes for more information about our sponsor, 3D Light Effects, and their brand new line of Star Wars cordless 3D Deco Lights. And wrapping up, Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me over on Twitter at Carrie Dixon. You can also find me manning the blog's Twitter at SD_comic_con. And you can find my work, as well as everybody else's, over on SDCCblog.com.
And Kim, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as Outside Comic Con.
That's easy.
So fun.
All right,
Very
and
nice.
I am on Twitter, Flickr, Tumblr, etc., as Dan Riegel. And you can check out my website, geekshotphoto.com. That is for my wife and I's work. And apparently you can find David Glanzer roaming the metro in Los Angeles. That's where you can find more of his work, or, you know, on news and such for Comic-Con, that other thing too.
But mostly on the Metro.
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up on the blog, or search for SDConcast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. Also note, for those on iTunes, to resubscribe if you were subscribed before and you aren't getting them. Make sure you subscribe if you want to get them in your iTunes regularly,
Yes.
because I think it got reset this year.
Yes.
Just a note for all of you who are watching or listening other ways. We're also on Stitcher Radio, which is one of the other ways. The link is in the show notes. If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com, or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con.
We are everywhere.
All
I know.
right. That was fun, and thank you all for listening. And until next week, everybody,
Go
Shawarma!
shawarma!
I need to go eat dinner now.
Okay, all right.
Go eat some shawarma.
Yes, go eat shawarma.
I'll put it on the pizza.
All right, bye guys.
Bye, everyone.
All right. See you later.